The halls of Westbrook Academy gleamed with polished floors and promise. But Adaeza Okonkwo felt none of it. She clutched her mother's worn leather journal against her chest, the only piece of home she'd brought across the ocean from Lagos. Her first day at this prestigious American school, and already she could feel the weight of eyes on her, measuring, judging, dismissing. Adeeza's mother, Colonel Adaeza Okonkwo, had been a decorated officer in the Nigerian Armed Forces, a woman who commanded respect with a single glance. She taught Adaeza more than just how to defend herself. She taught her patience, discipline, and the difference between strength and violence. Her voice echoed in Adeeza's mind even now, months after the car accident that took her away. Power without purpose is just destruction, my daughter. You carry the strength of our ancestors. Use it wisely. She'd made a promise at her mother's grave, surrounded by the red earth of home. She would only fight when absolutely necessary, when silence and dignity were no longer enough. Connor Blake spotted her before she'd made it 3 steps into the main corridor. Tall, blonde, with the easy confidence of someone who'd never been told no. He was everything Westbrook Academy celebrated. Lacrosse captain, legacy student, untouchable. He moved toward her with Derek Chong trailing behind like a shadow, and Adaeza felt her stomach tighten. The collision seemed almost choreographed. Connor's shoulder struck hers, and her books scattered across the pristine floor. Her mother's journal skidded toward the lockers, and Adeeza's heart lurched. "Oh wow. Sorry about that," Connor said, his voice dripping with false concern. "Didn't see you there. You just kind of blend into the shadows, you know?" He laughed, and Derek echoed it like a trained parrot. Adaeza knelt slowly, gathering her belongings. Her fingers trembled slightly as she reached for the journal, but she kept her face neutral, empty. She'd learned this mask well in the months since her mother's death. Show nothing. Give them nothing. Madison Pierce had her phone out, recording. The blonde girl's lips curved into a smirk as she filmed Adeeza's humiliation for whatever social media platform would give her the validation she craved. Adaeza walked away without a word, her mother's voice steady in her mind. Dignity, always dignity. But dignity, she would learn, looked like weakness at Westbrook Academy. The next 2 weeks became a masterclass in cruelty. Random locker searches where Adeeza's carefully organized books would be scattered, her personal items touched by unfamiliar hands. Whispers that followed her through hallways like smoke. Connor's voice, always loud enough for her to hear. "I bet she's really good at track, right? All that running from lions or whatever." When she was holding art supplies for her painting class, not athletic equipment. Derek had a particular fascination with her hair. "Why does it look like that? Can you even brush it? Does it come off?" His fingers reaching, always reaching, until she'd learned to keep her back to walls. The teachers never seemed to see it. Or perhaps they chose not to. Adaeza was new, foreign, alone. Connor was Westbrook royalty. Isaiah Martinez saw it though. He'd been watching from the beginning. This sharp-eyed junior who navigated the hallways in his wheelchair with the confidence of someone who'd long ago stopped caring what people thought. He found her in the library one afternoon, rolling up to her table uninvited. "You're tougher than you look," he said without preamble. "Most people would have transferred by now. Probably back to whatever country they assumed you crawled out of." His bluntness was startling, refreshing. Adaeza looked up from her mother's journal. Silence doesn't mean weakness. Isaiah's laugh was sharp, bitter. "At Westbrook? Yeah, it does. These people only respect what scares them. Trust me, I know." He gestured to his wheelchair. "Been here since freshman year. Learned that lesson real quick." Something in his words struck deep. Adaeza found herself talking, really talking, for the first time since arriving. She told him about her mother, about the training that started when she was 8 years old. Krav Maga, adapted and enhanced with techniques Colonel Okonkwo had learned in her military service. She told him about the promise, the vow to only use those skills to protect. "Noble," Isaiah said. "But nobility doesn't stop people like Connor Blake." He paused. "Your mom sounds like she was incredible though." "I'm sorry." The genuine sympathy in his voice made Adeeza's throat tight. "Thank you," she whispered. The science lab incident happened 3 days later. Adaeza had spent hours on her chemistry project, a detailed analysis of traditional Nigerian medicinal plants and their active compounds. It was her way of honoring her heritage, of showing these Americans that Africa held knowledge they couldn't imagine. Connor's elbow hit her beaker stand with perfect precision. Glass shattered. Chemicals splashed across her carefully handwritten notes, dissolving weeks of work into an illegible mess. "Miss Okonkwo, perhaps if you were paying more attention instead of daydreaming," Mr. Reynolds said sharply, adjusting his glasses. "Clean this up. You'll need to restart your project." But Adaeza started, then stopped. Connor's smirk told her everything. No one would believe her. No one ever did. In the hallway after class, Connor cornered her. Derek blocked her other side, and Madison's phone was already recording. I've been wondering," Connor said, stepping close enough that she could smell his expensive cologne. "How exactly did you get into Westbrook? Diversity quota? Some special charity program for third-world kids?" His fingers reached for her braided hair, twisted it around his hand. "This is real, right? Not like those things I've seen?" Adeeza's breathing shifted. In through the nose, 1, 2, 3. Out through the mouth, 1, 2, 3. Her mother's training kicked in automatically, flooding her system with controlled calm instead of rage. She counted Connor's tells, the way his weight shifted forward, overconfident. Measured the distance to Derek. Noted the 3 exit routes from this corridor. But she walked away. Again. Her hands trembling. Again. Her heart pounding with suppressed adrenaline. Again. That night, she opened her mother's journal to a dog-eared page. "There will come a moment, my Adaeza, when patience becomes complicity, when silence protects the wrong people. Trust yourself to know when that moment arrives. And when it does, stand." The cafeteria the next day buzzed with the usual chaos of teenage life. Adaeza sat alone at a corner table, eating the jollof rice she'd made herself because the cafeteria food tasted like cardboard. Isaiah rolled up, settling across from her with easy familiarity. "That smells amazing," he said. "Way better than whatever mystery meat they're serving today." Adaeza smiled, genuine and warm. "My mother's recipe. She was teaching me to cook before." Before Isaiah could respond, Connor's shadow fell across their table. Well, the charity case and the cripple having lunch together. How touching. Connor's voice carried across the cafeteria, designed to draw attention. And it worked. Conversations died. Heads turned. Madison's phone came up. Adaeza felt Isaiah tense beside her. "Leave it," she said quietly. But Connor wasn't done. He never was. "What's that smell?" "All right, whatever weird food you people eat. This is America, sweetie. We have real food here." His hand shot out, deliberate and vicious, and sent her tray flying. Jollof rice scattered across the pristine floor. Her mother's recipe, destroyed. The cafeteria went silent. Absolutely silent. Adaeza stood slowly. The mask she'd worn for weeks cracked, then shattered. She felt it happen. Felt the moment her mother's teachings shifted from restraint to readiness. Connor smirked. "What are you gonna do, African booty scratcher? Go back to your mud hut and cry?" The racial slur hung in the air like poison. Derek laughed, encouraged. He stepped forward and shoved Amara backward, hard enough that she stumbled. But she didn't fall. Adeeza's body remembered what her mind had tried to forget. Hours of training. Years of discipline. Her mother's hands guiding hers through movements until they became instinct. "This is not about hurting them, Adaeza. This is about stopping them. There is a difference. Always remember the difference." Connor reached for her again, his hand going for her throat in a gesture meant to intimidate, to dominate. Time crystallized. Adaeza moved. Her hand snapped up, catching Connor's wrist in a precise lock that her mother had taught her when she was 12. She twisted, not enough to break, just enough to control. His confident smirk dissolved into shock as his knees buckled from the pressure point manipulation. Derek rushed in, telegraphing his movement like an amateur. Adaeza pivoted, used his momentum against him, and suddenly he was on the ground, her hand controlling his shoulder in a lock that made resistance impossible. Connor tried to rise. Adeza's foot came to rest on his chest, not pressing hard, not crushing, just holding, just stopping. The cafeteria had erupted into chaos. Phones everywhere capturing everything. Teachers shouting, rushing forward. But Adeza's voice cut through it all. Quiet but carrying with the authority of someone who'd found their power. I gave you chances, she said, looking down at Connor. Week after week, I gave you chances. My mother taught me that strength without control is just violence. That power without purpose is destruction. She taught me to defend myself and others, to stand when standing matters. You taught everyone here what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. When you think silence means permission. It doesn't. She stepped back, releasing him. Her hands were steady now, her breathing controlled. She looked at the crowd of students, at their shocked faces, at Madison's still recording phone. I am Adaeza Okonkwo. I am Nigerian. I am African. I am black. And I am not your victim. The principal's office smelled like old coffee and disappointment. Adeeza sat with her hands folded in her lap while Principal Hartwick reviewed security footage. Isaiah had insisted on coming as a witness, and Madison's video, which she'd thought would humiliate Adeeza, had instead captured every racist comment, every physical assault, every moment that led to the cafeteria confrontation. Self-defense, Principal Hartwick finally said, sighing, clear as day. But Miss Okonkwo, we have policies about physical altercations. She assaulted me first. Connor started from his chair, but the principal's raised hand silenced him. Mr. Blake, you and Mr. Chong are suspended for 2 weeks for harassment and assault. Consider yourselves fortunate that Miss Okonkwo's restraint prevented serious injury. Your behavior is unacceptable and does not represent Westbrook Academy's values. Walking out of that office felt surreal. Adeeza's body ached with exhaustion, not from the fight but from carrying the weight of restraint for so long. Isaiah rolled beside her, silent support. The hallways the next day were different. Students parted as Adaeza walked through, but it wasn't from fear. A black sophomore girl nodded to her, respect clear in her eyes. A freshman whispered thank you as she passed. Even some of Connor's former friends kept their distance, something almost like shame on their faces. Isaiah found her at her locker. You okay? He asked. Adeeza considered the question honestly. I shouldn't have had to do that. I shouldn't have to prove my humanity by fighting for it. No, Isaiah agreed. You shouldn't. But you did what you had to. That takes a different kind of strength. The strength to know when enough is enough. That afternoon, alone in her room, Adeeza opened her mother's journal to the last entry. The one written 3 days before the accident that took her away. My darling Adeeza, strength isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about knowing when to stand, when to speak, and when to show them exactly who you are. You carry the blood of warriors, the wisdom of queens, the resilience of a people who have survived everything this world threw at them and still stand tall. Be proud, my daughter. Be strong. Be unapologetically you. The world will try to make you small. Don't let it. I love you always. Adeeza closed the journal, tears sliding down her cheeks. But they weren't tears of sadness anymore. They were release, relief, recognition. She walked through Westbrook Academy the next day with her head high, her mother's words a shield and a sword. Some people would always see what they wanted to see. They would look at her black skin, her African heritage, her foreignness, and make assumptions. Let them. She knew who she was. Adaeza Okonkwo, daughter of Colonel Adaeza Okonkwo, carrier of strength and dignity and purpose. And that was enough. That would always be enough. If this story resonated with you, if Adeeza's journey touched something in your heart, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Have you ever had to stand up for yourself when it felt like the world wanted you silent? Share your story. You never know who might need to hear it. And if you believe in stories that celebrate strength, dignity, and the courage to be unapologetically yourself, hit that subscribe button. Like this video, let's build a community where every voice matters, where every story deserves to be told. Because you matter, your story matters, and together we're stronger.